We'll be live any minute, guys. Okay. Okay. Nope, not yet. Okay, it says it's live. Yes, we are live. We can get started.
Yes. Sudha, can you please start the recording? I will start with the introduction.
Yes.
Thanks a
This
lot.
meeting is being recorded.
Hi. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to WeeklyWed. I'm Yashaswini Viswanath, AI researcher from Bangalore, India. And WeeklyWed is our place where we decide on important things and learn. We discuss, we share, we learn, we explore. WeeklyWed WeeklyWed is our go-to place for the most happening things that are there in the tech world. Generally, during WeeklyWed, we host speakers, but today is a very special WeeklyWed as we are trying to share our findings with the IBM Notre Dame grant project that we undertook. It's a very important session where we want to share our experiments and the results of our experiments with the outside world so that somebody else can build on it and extend our research and do more. So the goal of our research is to come up with experiments such that we have the hypothesis verified so that others can work on it and take it forward. So welcome Sudha, welcome Dr. Charles, and welcome everybody who have come here. Let us begin this important session and we will have an open mind to learn all about the experiments that we have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Yash. And thank you for this opportunity and finding time so that we can share the findings of our research. So let me get started. Are you able to see me?
Yes, Sudha, we can see you.
Okay.
Yes, I can see you.
Okay. So I'm Sudha Jamthe. I'm a technology futurist and I teach at multiple places, including Stanford Continuing Studies. I teach AI specifically, and my research focuses on AI ethics and inclusive AI, focused on autonomous vehicles typically, or on designing artificial intelligence. So let me share my slide deck because we are going to share the findings of our research we did. And it will be easier if I just do that.
I just want to jump in and say that we are recording the session and we are live streaming the session. So if anybody wants to go off camera, they're free to do so. So we generally record this and keep it in our Zoom cloud for the students to play it again and understand what we generally share here. So that's a disclaimer that I need to tell to everybody with the, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yash. The other thing is we are also live streaming onto LinkedIn and YouTube. So it will go definitely, even if you don't save a recording, it is going to be watched by a lot of people. So if you don't want to be on air, you don't need to be on camera. And there's a set of people who are invited who are here in Zoom with us who are able to ask questions. So if you want to speak up, that's fine. Or if you don't want to actually, be in the recording, you can still chat your questions. We will look at that and make sure that we answer all the questions. So, and thank you.
Also,
Everybody.
we would like to get to know you. So you can share where you're coming from and your name in the chat. We are very big on community and we would like to know where you're all coming from. And this is going to be a very special session. So over to Sudha.
Yash, can you do one more thing? We are live streaming and I see that the stream is going, but I want to make sure that we share this link in the LinkedIn event that we had created. So maybe you might want to add it in case people are not aware. This is the link for watching it on LinkedIn, especially the people on the link on the event. Yeah. Okay. And I'm joining here, San Jose, California. So let me share my screen, guys, and then I will get started. Okay, so one second. Able to see my screen? Okay. So what we are doing here is more a webinar as a research readout of a project we did as part of grant from Notre Dame IBM Tech Ethics Lab. And I got this grant, got started with Dr.Charles, and we got Yash in to help us to build out the empirical proof. We'll show you in a minute what we're talking about.
Hi, I am your host, Astro Robot.
So that is actually a simulated voice to show you a robot, but this Astro Robot is a real robot dog that is from Amazon. And it is designed and marketed saying that it will drive around your house and check who comes into your house, who are the regular people coming in and out of your house to keep your house safe. So I just wanted to give you an example of something that is not as mainstream, especially we have a global audience in here, but this Astro Robot now is available, I believe, in the market in a couple different countries. And so when we got started on this project, our thinking was, what is the ethical implication of this robot or any other robot or any other AI? So I'm Sudha Jamthe. I already introduced myself, and you heard from Yashaswini. She's an AI researcher from Bangalore. Dr. Charles, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. I was a little bit off for a minute. Thank you, Sudha and Yash. My name is Charles. I'm calling in from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a designer, an interaction designer, but I'm focusing more on digital products and AI. And I'm part of this experiment and happy to share our results with you. Thank you.
And Dr. Charles is my inspiration to get into AIX design. And I don't come from a UX design field. And I come from being an engineer and then worked in product management and analytics, different roles, but in technology industry. And Charles got me thinking about the design aspect, not ethics at that point when we got started. It was about how do you design artificial intelligence and how do you get UX designers to be part of this. And they don't need to code, but they bring their expertise of design and what is their role as he started exploring. And one of the projects that Charles is pretty humble about his intro, so I need to say a little bit more about him. So when I was working on artificial intelligence and autonomous vehicles and did a course on that, I was teaching a course about AV in Stanford. Charles told me about how he was designing the inside of a car for a major car company, which he cannot share the brand. And so we kind of started thinking about the implications of the data and the power the designer has, that you give an experience and you give a personality to the AI and it's cute and people start trusting it. So that was the seed behind our whole thinking about a framework called AIX. And then I ended up writing this book called AIX on designing artificial intelligence. And Charles contributed a chapter on AIX design in there. Okay. So I'm going to go back to share my screen. Thank you, Charles. Okay. So what we did is we took the AIX framework, and we're going to tell you what is the AIX framework, because what we ended up doing is we said, okay, there's a design framework we created about how to create design for artificial intelligence. And what if we add an ethical layer to it? Because when we listen to something like Astro Robot or even a Google search or any AI out there, we don't know the ethics behind it. Whether it is an ethical AI, can we trust it? What is it doing on the inside? What kind of data does it have? What is it going to do with the data it is collecting? What is the reasoning behind the interface of how it is interfacing with us? So we started adding one more layer to our Aix framework. And then we presented this, and myself, Charles, and one of my students from Barcelona Technology School, Viola Mibach, we three of us presented this at EGA conference in Kagawa. Sorry, I just have this certificate of appreciation. Didn't mean to be bragging about it, but this is the best way I can show this, because this just the conference proceeding is there. This has not been published as a paper. So what are we talking about as the AIX framework? So I was talking about when you design AI, you start with the character of the AI as the foundation. You think about it, when you interact with people, you want your values to be aligned. You're not going to be, friends or hire people or work with people if your values are not aligned, right? So what about an AI that you bring into your house, into your devices, into your life? And so we thought, what if the UX designer designs the character as a foundation? What does that look like? So we are thinking the core values of the AI, like trust, transparency, fairness, all of those would be core values. And so they will be fixed tenets of the AI. And then from there comes the behavior of the AI. And then from there, we build the personality of the AI. Yash, do you want to talk about the personality of the AI here?
Yes. So we all know that human beings have a personality, but here we are talking about AI having a personality. When we talk about personality of an AI, we tell about the gender, the tone, the communication style, the autonomy of the AI. These are the 4 tenets that we talk about when we consider the personality of an AI and how this makes an impact on the overall AIX design is seen from the diagram here, where we have the character as the base, the behavior is what is seen, and the personality is what is at the core of it.
Thank you, Yash. So if you see an existing AI out there, let's take our voice assistants or the many robots or anything that interacts with that, they all have personalities. But the personality is not done, of course, it's not done with the core character foundation, but even whether it is genderized or how it is humanized is very random, or it is done in a way saying, hey, people will trust if this robot is cute. So we worked with a company called KiwiBot, which does autonomous food delivery and delivers food to students in campus. And they told us that they want to build the most friendly robot that is accepted by students. So the Kiwi actually has a smile that shows up on its face when it gets closer to the student who is picking up the delivery. But that's a conscious decision. It is not done with bad intentions, but humans end up trusting AI more if it is cute. So personality should be something that is more thoughtfully done, especially when it has impact in our lives. And we are going to have these AI and robots in intimate settings, in all around our lives, in our vulnerable places. And so we were thinking about, can personality be designed in a thoughtful way with the elements that Yash was talking about? And in fact, we have this on Wikipedia, where when the voice assistants were first launched, Cortana, Google Home, Siri, Alexa, all of them, they were genderized. And initially the Siri and all had like just male voices. And if you go look at it, and you say gender and voice assistants, you'll find this on Wikipedia, where in certain countries, they defaulted it to be male. In certain countries, they defaulted it to be female. And in the tone of conversation of how Alexa or Google Home interacts, Google Home behaves a certain way and gives answers for the same questions differently. And Alexa would apologize a lot and act coy, being a female. And so, so we were thinking, can this be done thoughtfully? And then can this be built on a character tenet that builds out the behavior? And the other factor we were thinking is personality is something that can evolve over time in a relationship. So if we have a robot that is going to be teaching us something and is as part of our home, as it interacts with us as users, our relationship changes with it. And that data is available. That data is being collected in teaching the AI, but it is not today fed back to adapt the personality. The personality is designed once as for whatever reason, and then the AI is sent out, and then it is treated as a piece of technology, and the user interaction data is not fed back to the personality. So when we built out the Aix framework, our thinking was personality is something that should adapt and evolve with the user relationship, whereas the character is something that should be fixed, and it should dictate the behavior, but it should not change. The character should not change. Charles, do you want to talk to the rest of the AIX design?
Yes. So, so referring to the model, I wanted to say that one of my motivations for working on this is that I kind of believe that the traditional computational approach of input and output, does very little, to kind of on how personality of an AI kind of is built over time. So being able to kind of collect user data and also interaction data helps to kind of build a lot of diversity into the personality, because as you heard, personality is something that should be flexible. It should be able to change, within the lifespan, of a product. So one of the building blocks of our model is user data, user needs, interface needs, and data needs. So at the top of this model, we have been able to kind of show a cycle of data collection, at different, phases. For example, you have at the data collection stage where you have the training AI. We're kind of focusing on collecting, user needs, data relating to user needs, as well as interface needs. I think that these are reflective of both the personality and kind of behavior. If you think about, the behavior of an AI, for example, if you think about a voice assistant and how it kind of will behave at various stages, you will kind of understand that, collecting data, that is kind of variable and diverse across different sets. For example, if the AI is kind of wants to be assertive or jealous or have a harsh tone to be able to respond to user requests. Another one is at the defining stages. I think that at the defining stages, which is the inference AI, I think that some of the things we're kind of looking at is collecting the interaction data and the learning data as well. I think that the interaction data is very important because if you think of how the input and output operations, works in an AI, product, sometimes you make a request, but many times you don't even make a request because the AI is kind of collecting data to be able to kind of serve you throughout the needs, based on the already existing data that it has. So this stage is very important in terms of collecting, interaction data as well as learning data across the personality and the behavior as well. Then you have the iteration stage. The iteration stage, talks about, reassessing the data values and the data. So, we mentioned a lot of some of the data values. It could be love, it could be smile, it could be being jealous in terms of how the behavior, work. So these are the kind of data we collect along the stages. And this is what our model is kind of emphasizing on. So if you have the character, you have the behavior, personality, and the user needs, then we have this cycle of data collection that kind of ties back to the whole thing. Thank you. Over to you, Sudha.
Thank you, Charles. So this is the one that Charles was talking about. And I want to add one thing, because when we think of AI, we all think of something, right? You might be thinking of the autocorrect on your phone, or some kind of software interface, or somebody might be thinking of a robot. The two examples I've been giving here repeatedly. But the interface could be voice, it could be augmented reality, it could be computer vision, it could be NLP, it could be invisible. So a designer typically thinks about that, and the interface itself would have a need. What does that mean? So we found that when Charles and I were working on this, that if it is voice and you're designing for voice, it's a very different experience from designing a website, where on a website, the user comes and the click is at a certain place. There is a context to it. Whereas with voice, you talk to a voice assistant, and yes, it takes your voice, converts from voice to text, and then does its thing and gets you the answer. But at some point, there is no context, right? You don't know when you ask the next question, is it assuming that you're asking in continuity, or is it a different thing? So there's this whole field of conversational AI. So from a design perspective, you need to understand, you have to design that it is for voice, which is different from other mediums, say if it is augmented reality. So that's what we were talking about, the interface needs. So I want us to make sure that, we wanted to take this time to help understand our thinking behind this model, because this is the foundation from where we came into this Notre Dame grant, saying we believe that managing personality thoughtfully in the iteration of training and building and learning AI is manageable and good. Adding a character tenet is going to make the AI ethical. It's a kind of a tall claim. So what we did is we said, okay, now let's prove this empirically. So this is our overall framework. And this is what, sorry, I'm going to skip through this because we've talked about it. This is the slide I should have been when Charles was talking, but user needs, data needs, and interface needs. But thank you, Charles, for continuing on. I appreciate that.
What is the problem? What is missing in human-computer design today?
So humans, as I was saying, this has been proven by research that humans trust and get attached to the AI. And the UX designer is involved only at the start of the process, and personality is designed in an ad hoc fashion without much thinking of why AI needs to be genderized and what is the personality of the tone and the names, and how the AI is going to be making decision autonomously or ask permission. All those decisions are not done thoughtfully. It is not done throughout the cycle. So that is what we are trying to address here. Okay. So how can we empirically prove this? So this is what we set out with Notre Dame. Thank you to the AI ethics lab from Notre Dame who gave us the opportunity. And so what we want to talk about is the methodology. But before that, I want to pause, get out of my screen share, and check with people if you have any questions, because we made this a bunch of assumptions. That's what we did, and we made some observations, and we developed the Aix framework. We got the opportunity to present at Kagawa, but we wanted to make sure this is still what we thought is the right approach, and we need to prove this empirically. So what we are going to share is how did we create an empirical proof for that. But I wanted to see if anybody has any questions or comments on this that we should address before we get into showing you the experiments and their methodology. So I see people here. Wow, people from everywhere. Thank you. So Ananya was asking, can you elaborate on the 3 stages? I think we did that. So the character is not part of the iteration. According to your visual, it's only the top 3 boxes that are cycled through. That's a question from Susanna. So our original framework was to build personality. So we said AI needs to have personality. It is having a personality. Let's do this thoughtfully. And so when we show that the data is iterating only through the behavior and personality, we are basically saying there's going to be data collected from interacting with the user that is going to inform the behavior of the AI, and the personality is going to adapt. So yes, so it is going to circle only through the personality. The character is not changing. So the UX designer is going to say this AI is going to be transparent. That's the value of this AI. This is going to be fair and unbiased. That's a value of the AI. This is going to be trustworthy. That's a value of the AI. So they bake in the value of the values as fixed tenets. And so as the AI is interacting with users, it is not going to change and say, now I do not want to be transparent anymore, or I'm going to be biased and start interacting differently with different people. So that's why we said the character is going to be fixed. Only the personality is going to adapt. So it could be, it could be a certain gender, it could change genders, it could have a certain tone, and the personality could change. It could, be as you trust the AI. One simple example is, as we trust a specific device or AI, after some time, we would say, okay, now it can allow for automation. So one example is, we have a Nest thermostat at home. So it's supposed to be a learning thermostat, which means we set the temperature and say, this is how we want it during the day. This is the temperature we want at night. This is like an away mode when we leave home. So it's learning all that, and it sets it. And the learning thermostat has the capability to say, oh, this is what this house wants, based on different people in the house, and they change the settings at different times. So it will automatically adjust the temperature for you based on what is normative for that family. And that is what the learning AI would do. I had issues with it as soon as I started using Nest, because it did not set the right temperature to what I wanted, because I wanted a certain temperature and my spouse wanted a different temperature, and Nest was not giving me the temperature I wanted. But over time, once I become comfortable with it, I realized, okay, it does adapt to what works for this family. And so now I allow it to automate and do that. So that automation is part of the personality. Is it stopping and saying, I'm going to change it to this temperature. Do I have your permission? It doesn't have to do that anymore, because I trust it. And so that becomes a change with my interaction with the AI. In this case, it's a thermostat, and then it is doing the change. So the character is fixed in the model. Okay, so shall we move ahead? I see a lot of people, new people that we don't know. Usually, like, my students are here and I recognize them. So feel free to speak up if you want. We don't mind an interrupt, and feel free to chat your questions if you prefer that way. Okay.
Yes, okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. So here we are. We told you about Aix Framework and how we added the character tenet, and that is the framework we presented. Now we are going to tell you how, what is the research we did at as part of this grant at Notre, and how do we go about proving design. How do you even prove that design for any design is more trustworthy? That's a huge challenge. And that's where Charles and I got started with it, and we brought in Yash, and she helped us with the whole experiment piece. Okay, I'm back to the methodology. So the approach we took was, we said AI is very many things. We cannot do something that is too ambiguous. So why don't we pick one AI, and we picked the recommender system. So recommender system is that part of an AI that provides suggestions. And we see that in all kinds of sales, e-commerce sites. So in this case, we said, let's find a recommender system that is recommending products from a catalog. Very safe, right? It is not emotionally attached. We don't have any subjective elements of, is this cute looking? Does it have this tone? And things like that when we get started. So recommender system was the AI we chose. And then we said, okay, so recommender system is in e-commerce settings. So we used e-commerce data from a voice assistant. And again, the user interaction data from a voice assistant for specific defined task for product search query is the use case that we picked. And then we did A/B testing on the same AI when it had personality and when it did not have personality. So let me move ahead with that. So Charles, do you want to add more to the methodology here?
Yes. Okay. So so our methodology comprises of three kind of research procedures, and one of them is use case selection. For use case selection, one of the things we are looking at is to kind of understand. Sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. There was a blip in your voice. We can hear you fine now, Charles.
Oh, okay. So the use case selection was a way for us to understand the recommender system and to be able to kind of select the appropriate case for us to be able to perform our analysis. So one of the things we kind of set up was to be able to, since we have chosen a recommender system, and we also kind of looked at various types of Alexa Echo Dot, which is the 3rd generation and the 4th generation. And another procedure that we used was the model inference testing. I think this is appropriate for us to kind of generate and kind of have search queries. So the search queries is actually kind of very important for us to be able to sieve the amount of data that we're going to be able to be working with. We are working with an open source data, so being able to kind of sort our queries into various categories for the Alexa Echo Dot is kind of also very important. Another procedure is the bias discovery. So the bias discovery is kind of important, to be able to show. We wanted to be able to show the lack of fairness or the existence of fairness. So how do we kind of be able to use our analysis to be able to differentiate between these? And the data collection is we kind of focused on Alexa Echo Dot using an open source data that's already collected. And I think that Yash will talk more about the nature of this data and how we kind of did a lot of filtering and cleaning up to be able to see the ones we can work with.
Thank you, Charles. I want to add one thing. So when we said when we did model inference, so we did not work with the Amazon team to go get some inside information to get the internal data pre-production. So what we did was there is already Alexa available in the market, and that is why we had to interact with the inference model. And then the whatever training data they had, whatever they had in the background is not transparent. So that is why we focused on bias discovery, because fairness and transparency was one of our value tenets that we focused on. And so the approach we took was, when we are saying design personality and you don't have personality in the other AI, how do you define that for a voice assistant? That's not even ours. We are not building it. This belongs to somebody. But we thought finding something that's out there in the market, instead of us doing a small data set with an AI that we would create, would be much better. So that was a decision we made. So we said, look at the desktop version of this voice assistant and the device version of it. And if you notice, if you're interacting with the same AI, that's why we went to the recommender system. This is not the front end of the device. The front end of the device has personality, tone, decision making, when it makes notifications, does all kinds of things. and it has a designed personality. Whereas, and we're not even judging whether the personality is done right. I personally don't think that Alexa should be a female, but that's beyond the scope of this research. We are just saying it has personality. So we're going to choose the same AI which has personality and is going to make a recommendation, and the same AI, which is the same AI recommender system that Alexa is using, but when you do it on the desktop, it doesn't have any personality. So we just use that as the tool to A/B test it. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Yash. Yash, do you want to tell us about the data set, where we got it, and then the experiment, and pick one experiment and walk us through, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha, and thank you, Dr. Charles. This is a wonderful experiment conducted by Abhishek Dash et al. We have taken this paper as the basis. Alexa, in you, I trust. Fairness and interpretability issues in e-commerce search through smart speakers. I would like to show the findings of the paper based on which we have come up with our research hypothesis and the experiments that we have conducted. Also, I would like to show the data set that we have used and the information, the metadata about the data. I'll quickly share my screen now. So first of all, the data set that we are having is considering 1,000 keywords. It is having 1,000 keywords, and we have the transcript that we are talking to the Alexa. We have the cart output metadata, which is the product title, number of ratings, average user ratings, brand, price, Amazon choice path, seller fulfillment details. Then we have the desktop search results for the same query. This is the data set that we are trying to use. We have the 1,000 search queries, the transcript that we get when we are talking to Alexa, the desktop search result, and the cart output metadata. And all of this is collected by Abhishek Dash et al. And they have come up with this beautiful paper. I interacted with Abhishek with the findings of our research. And first of all, here if we see, they are trying to collect this data and they are trying to run some experiments using Alexa, the voice assistant. So if we see here, they have come up with how many are based on Amazon choice, how many are based on top results, and other explanations. Here, what is the interpretation of Amazon choice? They have tried to quantify. They have tried to quantify the results. What is the interpretation of top result? So quickly, I will go over to the data set again, and I would like to show the Alexa transcript. Here we have the search query, and we have the cost of it, and we have the cart output. So now when we take the experiments, we take the different values that we have in this data set and compute the statistics. So I would like to share the experiment results. So Sudha, can I go over the experiment results, or would you like to add something here related to the paper and related to the data set here? Sudha?
So thank you, Yash. I just want to add one thing.
Yes.
It's very typical to think that when you're doing research that you should create your own data, or it has to be a public data set, which is exactly doing what you want, and then you can build on the data set. That's what we have done with most of our past research. One of the things we did is, because we wanted to use something that's a widely used AI, and we picked the data set from Alexa. The thing I want to call out is this research paper had nothing to do with AIX design. This research paper, actually the authors worked with the Alexa team and spent a lot of time to collect this data with the focus to show that the data from Alexa, whether it is fair or whether it is biased. And so that was their lens with which they were doing. As part of it, they happened to have collected data that was on desktop and on the device. And so we looked at that same data set with their permission. I got access to the data set, and we said, we're going to look at the same data set, but we are not focusing on whether it is biased or fair, though we are interested in AI ethics. We are going to actually look at which of it is from desktop, which of it is from the device, to proxy that for personality. So that's what I wanted to just add that here. Yash, and back to you.
Thank you, Sudha. I would like to share my screen and show the experiment findings that we have. We conducted 3 experiments for this hypothesis verification, and I would like to dwell more about one experiment and go deeper into that. I would like to share my screen and show the experiment results. So here, this is the experiment result, the empirical results of the experiments. So the first one over here, this is showing that 642 out of 1,000 cases, people are buying from Alexa, and there is a cost difference. There's a cost difference of 642 out of 1,000 Alexa recommendations that is coming. This is a very big number, given that 642 out of 1,000 cases, there is a price increase. This shows that Alexa is trying to recommend the higher price product. Here, when we consider the 642, 121 of them, out of the 1,000, there is a cost difference of greater than 1,000 between the result given by the desktop and result given by Alexa. The last one we see here is 31 of these. There is a cost difference of greater than 1,000. You might wonder the significance of this experiment. Here, 40% of the cases, people chose to buy from Alexa. When Alexa is showing like this, that is when we have an AI that is having a gender, a tone, a personality, when it is showing the results, people tend to believe that, and people tend to buy from that. That is the main findings of the experiments that we have conducted. We have taken the AIX design, and we have shown that when there is a character augmentation, there is a possibility of people buying from that. So this is what we are trying to tell here, character augmentation for the recommender system, where its personality enabled and the behavior shows it. So Sudha, over to you for the conclusion of our...
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yash. Yeah, I wanted to kind of add to the interpretation of, of Yash's work. I think that to wrap this up, I think that we believe that, when AI becomes integral part of our lives and, does function like senior care or kind of involve in, road or smart city traffic issues or engage with financial transactions or in serious situations, it has to be thoughtfully designed and grounded onto clear values, as defined by the character, which we said is fixed. If Alexa, a product like Alexa, reminds us to reorder items, from Amazon, or tracks our engagement and behavior to kind of enhance our, shopping experience, without character tenets, which ties to the values of transparency, it is dangerous for us to kind of trust Alexa in our home, because it can mislead us. You could see one of our findings in terms of recommending a product with a higher price. We cannot trust Alexa as a product in the home if it's be able to give us recommendations that are kind of, leads us astray. So this is one of the implications, and we'll be able to kind of limit our conversation to this one experiment, and we'll have the 3 experiments, published under this grant, and it will be open and accessible to everybody. Thank you. Over to you, Sudha.
Thank you for that, Charles. So especially as a designer, when you're talking about the need for designing thoughtfully, it's very, very important, because I have worked in e-commerce and eBay in my past. And when people are thinking about pricing, it's a very dynamic decision. And there is a AI that is making the decision. So it is looking at what is selling better, what price is selling for this particular customer or the segment of customer, however they're profiling it. So the price is always different between iPhone, iPad, Android, mobile web, and as the various different, and the desktop, right? So we found that in e-commerce industry, the average buying price of a customer is typically higher on the desktop than on the mobile. And we used to think about what more experience can we give on the mobile so that the customer will buy bigger, better products or come back and buy a lot more. So it was very shocking for me, coming from my e-commerce past, to see that the same product that is sitting in the same catalog for Amazon, and this is an AI recommender system that is actually saying this is the price on the device compared to the desktop when it is higher price. And the shocking part from our work is that people still buy more from here because of the personality, because it is doing something more. There could be more research that could be done. We hope that there will be other people who will build on a research. What is the psychology, why people choose this when it gives a personality versus when it doesn't, is something that somebody else can build on. And, I hope there is more research on that. So going back to Charles' point that we focused on the personality because we could show that, and no AI out there today is being built with this character tenet. So that's why we wanted to take this paper, which is showing the bias. So here, and we are not against Alexa or any particular brand here. And I'm sure if we take any other brand of e-commerce recommended system, it is going to show similar behavior. And hopefully, we'll be able to develop that in a future research to make it broader. And it's not limited to recommended system because it's e-commerce. The idea is, when the AI is actually telling you to do something, it could ask you to walk more as a Fitbit. It could ask you to sleep more, trying your sleeping behavior, or it could be asking you to take your medicines and remind you better on the device than on the desktop. So it doesn't have to be malicious intent. It is just that when it is done using a personality, then people interact more. And our ask is that we need to think about this more with a character tenet, which should be fixed. And so if suppose this voice assistant, not to pick on any particular brand, is built with a character tenet that it is going to be transparent as its foundation, then it will be transparent that it is charging a higher price. Maybe there is a reason why it is charging a higher price. Maybe it's a higher convenience when you buy on the device, and they will bring that in the user experience if they want to be transparent about it. And same thing about bias. This one shows that the data, this particular paper that we built on, actually shows that it was not fair and it was biased. And so it is not something that is communicated by the user experience of whether it is biased. And so that if it had it as a character tenet that it should not be biased, then it will fix that. If it had a character tenet that is going to be transparent, then it will do that. And one thing that typical tech products work towards is to improve engagement. And again, it's been proven by research that engagement is high if people trust the product. And so we use the engagement that people engage more on Alexa and buy more on Alexa, even at a higher price, as a proxy. So we use the engagement as a proxy for trust. So in this case, people are trusting Alexa on the device compared to the same recommender system on the desktop. So if trust was a value, again, tenet for this product, then they would think about it as how do we earn the user trust instead of just making sure that they will engage and purchase more. So that has been the model these days of e-commerce sites or even social media sites to focus on user engagement. Get the user to come back and click one more time. And that is treated as a proxy for trust, and it is not. And so if there is a character tenet that they would think about and say, hey, we want to make sure the user is trusting us, that we are fair and unbiased, and they could choose that, hey, we cannot make it fair and biased. We do not have the data for it. But they choose to be transparent, at least we would know, right, if that is a value tenet. So we are not saying that these three have to be the character tenets. There could be many different values, but our recommendation is to have a transparent character layer and then work on the personality. So I think with that, we are done. I want to see if there's any other questions. Okay, I just see a comment from Eric. Thank you, Eric. Personality. So so question is, your personality makes people trust AI more.
Yes, we have a question. Okay.
Yes. So the question was, did you actually validate the character part, whether you having a character would whether having a character would make the user trust more. So today, people seem to trust based on personality. So what we did is, that's a very good question. So we originally thought we will be able to say this AI has character, this AI doesn't have character, similar to what we did with the personality. And as we went through the personality exercise, we found that there's no AI that has character out there that is showing transparently. And personality supersedes the whole character. So even if the AI is designed with character, it is not going to show in the user experience that it's not going to say, trust me, I'm more transparent. Trust me, I'm more fair. It's not going to say that. It's not going to come in the user experience or the user interface. What the user is going to see is they are going to see only the personality. So if you go back so because of that, we decided if we prove that personality impacts trust and prove that that is important to actually retain the user trust beyond engagement. So we thought that kind of indirectly proved the hypothesis. So I want to go back to the framework we started from. 1 second. So if you look at our framework, I'm just going to go to this place. 1 second, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm glad somebody asked that question, because we started off saying we're going to, we added character. So if you look at it, this is where the iteration happens. This is where the adaptation happens. So it's almost like this is beneath the surface. Character is beneath the surface. So today the character piece doesn't exist. And assume somebody buys into this and say, yes, we are going to design this with character, and it exists. There is no way the character is not going to actually show as visibly, but it is going to inform the behavior of the user, and that would impact the personality. So that is the assumption from where we came from, saying, if we focus on personality and try to make it behave right and do have trust, because trust is a core tenet, then user will see this, and the trust will be legitimate trust and not just superficially created or manipulated because of the personality, or just serving as a proxy for engagement. Okay, I hope that answers your question. There's a comment. This also shows that an UX with a friendly human-computer interface can add ease of use to generate higher cost performance purchases. That's a very good point. So the pleasing UX is actually going to make it easy to use. It could be easy to use. It might not be easy to use. Definitely, but if the customer is trusting it, even if there is friction in the path, I have to talk to Alexa, and suppose Alexa doesn't hear me right, and I have to explain again. It happens sometimes with my accent. Alexa doesn't understand me because it's not as unbiased, right? So I don't feel it as annoying, and I would explain it again. Whereas if this is a desktop experience, I search, it doesn't get it. After few clicks, I might give up. So one of the metrics in e-commerce is you want to reduce friction in your product path, and the user would drop off after so many clicks. So you don't want them to have too many scrolls and clicks in the app or in a desktop interface. And if I'm talking to the device, because it is humanized, I feel like explaining myself better for it to understand. So that psychology plays in, and it reduces the friction, or it allows me to have a little bit more patience. So, that could be a reason why personality allows the user to trust and engage more and still pay the higher price unknowingly. I mean, I'm sure if I knew that Alexa is charging me more on a device versus a desktop, I would go to the desktop. But that is the transparent missing ethical piece that is not presented in the AI. Thank you, Bob. Can we get a link to the paper and presentation? Yes, definitely. This also shows that a UX that's the piece. And Ananya said, Moses says, are we at some point going to describe character as good or bad? Another human-like perspective. How would these be defined for the AI solution? So thank you for that question, Moses Tiga. We thought about it. When we first added character, it took us more than a year's time to actually get this to any kind of public interface, because we first said character could be is like movie characters. And what if the AI has a certain character? And we said book characters. So we researched the parallel of that. So it is possible that when we say character, as if it is like a movie character, then it could be bad character, right? So it could say, the user trusts me more, and so I'm going to keep smiling more, and I'm going to apologize more. So today, I don't think it's done intentionally, but I believe Alexa apologizes more because she is a female. And that would actually, let her guards down to be more trusting and engage better. And this could be maliciously done. It is definitely not maliciously done by anybody, as that we are seeing today, but it could be done maliciously. So when we say character open-endedly, that opens a whole can of worms of manipulating the user because of the cute interface. So we thought about it. And so that is why we said, when we say character, we are not talking about, so we separated the character from personality. Otherwise, we had thought about this as just one cute character, right? So we said the character, the core of the character is the core value tenet of trust, transparency, in the ethical aspects of the AI. And so that is the character. So to your point, if you want to build an AI if one wants to build an AI that is a bad character, they could say, they could have other values. I don't think people are going to go out of their way to go build an AI and say the value of this AI is to be sleazy or to be jealous or things like that, right? But technically, in the thing with technology is anything presented once can be built in any other way. So it is technically feasible. That's why we said the character should be the value tenet. And we would like, to Susanna's point, we would like a method by which this character value tenet is shown transparently, so that that this AI is a trustworthy AI or this is a fair AI. But to the user. But I don't think it is within the scope of our work to show how it can be done in UX design. So what we thought is, internally, when the team builds the AI, the UX designer needs to be involved to design and add to the design specs. These are the value tenets, and then add to the design specs. This is the personality, and then go through the iteration. And the UX designer, one of our recommendations in the Kagawa presentation was the UX designer should be involved throughout the life cycle of the learning AI. And then in future, if there is a way by which the character tenet can have a user interface that you will transparently see whether it's a trustworthy AI, that's great. But we didn't think it was within our scope. Our scope was to say, add a character tenet, add personality, iterate the personality, keep that personality transparent, engage the UX designer throughout the life cycle. So hope that answers.
I think that is a very interesting question from Moses. It's also kind of tricky for us and interesting at the same time. We had this conversation, severally with Sudha, and I'm glad that, the community it's something that everybody can talk about. I think that when you kind of think about character, and you think about sex, you think about age, and stuff like that, good or bad. If you look at a human being, can you tell the character from looking at them? I mean, it's a question for everybody. I don't know. Some people can do that while some cannot. Maybe the FBI can look at somebody and say something like that. And maybe we have also surveillance techniques that can be able to tell you, look at somebody's character to be able to predict, those kind of things. But it's very interesting how this can be interpreted. That is why the error and the bias we see in AI is like this, because we cannot agree, what is what in some of these things. So it's quite kind of subjective. And what our model does is to make sure that that at the beginning stages of this development, that we kind of get it right in terms of defining what is what in terms of the character and what are the values. And that also kind of translates, to the personality and to the behavior of the AI. But if you answer the question whether you as a human can look at somebody and determine their character, I mean, maybe that is your answer, that kind of a thing. So yeah. You can go ahead, Sudha.
Yes, thank you. So this goes back to the point on the character is going to be this hidden foundation that the team which is building out the AI has access to that and make sure that they don't stray away from the agreed character of the AI and they don't change that over time. Whereas the personality is the one that has a user interface. So at least that is what I'm hearing from the UX expert in the room. And we'll see whether there are other UX designers who are going to feel the need for this character to show, and whether they're having a need to show an interface. And I agree to Charles' thinking that when we look at a human being, we just see their personality and then interaction and tone and everything else, and we do not know the real character. If you engage with them over time, we know that, hey, they're trustworthy, or we start trusting them for whatever reasons, right? So Moses says this work is instrumental in taking us closer to AI solutions that are conscious of themselves. Artificial superintelligence. AI solutions that know or understand their gender, race, maybe age, mood, interesting times ahead. So maybe Moses, you would build on it to build some other research on it, but that's not our intention. We just want, for me, my thing was, I didn't want the personality to be kind of done with no rhyme or reason. I definitely don't want dumb devices to be females. And so that was the motivation where I was coming from. So I hope that if this adds more, it's good. And then the character piece, we did more thoughtfully, saying it is very, very important that AI should be built with character. When we say human-computer interface, we are equating it with a human as another personality. And so if it is going to be another human and I'm going to interact with them, if I find they're not trustworthy, I'm going to detach from them, or my relationship is going to change if I find they're not trustworthy. So the same thing should happen with AI, and it should have characters. It should not be so transparent that it declares that I'm transparent, but it should show by its personality whether we can trust it. Not like, having a cute personality and giving us a higher price, but having a real trustworthy personality that we can interact over time. And it's a huge challenge, because how will you know that, right? When it is giving me a price and I think it's cute and I'm interacting, because we all come with our biases. And so I might think of it as trustworthy because of something that I like and how it is interacting with me. Maybe the tone is something that I feel like it is trustworthy. So it should be done thoughtfully. So Susanna Raj says, my concern is character is not set at birth. Personality traits become fixed by age 6 and 9. Behavior is based on personality, but is fluid. Character traits are personality traits. Being trustworthy is a personality trait, not a character trait. So I'm wondering if these are based on psychology or the consumer psych behavior. Both are different. So definitely this is not based on psychology. So I'm very happy, Susanna Raj is our inspiration, who got us thinking about inclusive AI in the first place. So I'm glad she's here in the room. So we did not come from a psychology background. So we did not think of this as, personality traits become fixed at this age and like a translation of a human. We were thinking of this as what is out there today as personality. Even like if you think about what we have done, we have said the gender, the tone, automation, all those things, we've added only few elements to the personality. So our aspiration is people like you will come in and help define this personality based on personality that is already in social sciences, because we did not build this on social sciences in any form, right? So we said, look at the devices today, they're acting cute, they are genderized, they have a certain tone. So we tried to extract those elements out and said, can we create a framework so that these are still designed, but they're done thoughtfully. And then we looked at character. So you said character can change. So again, if you look at it as character, like a TV character or as a human, if you think of the AI exactly like a human, the character is not fixed. That was one of the debates we had. So I'm very glad you asked that question. So if we literally, the word character, if we say that it is like a person, like a character in a book or a show, comparable to a human, then it is not going to be fixed and it should change. But we use the word character to show that it has the AI ethics elements, and it could be called anything else. We just chose to call it character. And so our proposal is, you have a fixed tenet which has trustworthiness, fairness, and those AI ethics elements. So it's possible that somebody is a trustworthy person and they change over time, or somebody is, being fair and then they have life experiences that changes them, and they get cynical and they don't want to be fair. But we are assuming that the AI is not sentient and it is not going to have that experience. So when it starts with, I'm going to be trustworthy, it's going to be trustworthy. I'm going to be fair, it's going to be fair. And the behavior and interaction with the user is going to be reflective on personality. That's the way we were looking at it. Yes. So if you want to add anything else, we are happy to hear your response back, Susanna. Otherwise, we are just going to close out. And if you'd like to follow up offline also, I'm happy, because, and somebody was asking about the paper. So the proceedings of this, we presented this at Kagawa. So the proceedings of this has been published. We are happy to, at Kagawa, we are happy to share that. This is not published as a journal article. And so we said with Notre Dame, we'll do this as a webinar and present today. And then we are actually working to publish this in one of the peer-reviewed journals. So any feedback you provide us today, we are very happy to take that, and we'll make sure that it is incorporated and published in a journal. And then we are happy to follow up and share copies of that. And timing wise, we are thinking like now in the next couple of months, not like we are not thinking of, we have been accepted in a journal to publish this. So we are kind of in, we have to submit the full paper. So we'll incorporate your feedback in it. And then, so it should be out in a couple of months. Okay. So Susanna says she'll follow up offline. So hopefully she'll help enrich the paper version with her feedback, bringing in the difference from psychology. And, we were thinking of human consumer behavior from how tech looks at insights from data and makes decisions in e-commerce. That's what recommendation systems do today. Okay. So with that, we want to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This was wonderful, and I'm very glad because we've had many, many debates and discussions on this. And that's the beauty of research. We don't want to assume that what we did is right, because we make decisions and we kind of ponder, are we doing the right thing? Especially when you send something out like personality and character for an AI out into the world, we'll have to think of the implications of how everybody's going to take that and whether it is going to be used in a right or wrong way. So I'm glad those questions came up. So hopefully, we'll incorporate your feedback into the paper. Hopefully there are people out watching this in any of the live stream or the recording or follow-ups from people here who will work on this on a future research. If that's interest to you, talk to us. We are happy to collaborate because we would like to keep iterating and bring this, to reality, out into the tech products that's being built today. So with Charles and Yash, thank you very much. Do you want to add anything? Otherwise, we can wrap up.
Yeah, thank you guys for an engaging session. We are happy to take comments, recommendation, conversations regarding this. You can reach me via LinkedIn, and we'll continue to kind of improve, and we will make the paper open source so everybody will definitely have access to it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are hoping to get our paper published past the peer review process in the next couple of weeks, but maybe we can do like a preprint version on Arxiv or something, so that it's accessible to everybody. But that's a very good point. Thank you, everybody. So with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. And hope to continue this conversation. And thank you, Yash, for allowing us to, present here at WeeklyWed. We appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. Thanks. And we thank Notre Dame for this opportunity. It's been amazing. And, we hope, there are people here from the Notre Dame community. Yes, Charles?
No, I'm fine. And thank you very much, everyone.
With that, we'll wrap up. Thanks. I'm going to stop the live stream first, and then I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, everybody. And those of you who are watching this on LinkedIn, if you come in and have comments, we'll come back and answer your questions there. Post a comment, we'll come and answer them.